the Singularity of Knowing. It began with structure, not poetry. The claim was simple. Experience cannot step outside itself. Any statement about experience is made from within experience. There is no external vantage point. No place outside the field to validate or compare it against something other. Then the pressure came. If experience cannot step outside itself, how can it claim that limitation? If you say it cannot compare itself, you just made a comparison. Your response: you cannot compare experience to anything outside itself because there is nothing outside it. Any comparison is still happening within the same field. The attempt to establish an external reference collapses immediately. The collapse is not failure. It reveals recursion. Then came language. The premise fails because language turns immediacy into an object. The moment something is named, it becomes representation. Representation creates division. Division creates subject and object. So the issue is not mind. Mind is too small, too psychological, too limited. We do not even know what consciousness is in any final definable sense. The correction: there is only knowing, not knower and known, not subject and object. Just knowing appearing as if divided. The knower is itself known. The known appears within knowing. Duality is structural appearance, not ultimate separation. Then came the question of error. If there is only knowing, no knower, no known, what is the status of error? Your answer: error cannot fracture totality. Perfection produces perfection. From the whole, nothing is broken. From localization, misreading appears. Like a dream, when you wake, nothing happened, except everything appeared. Correction exists only within the display. From totality, no correction is required. Then foundation was challenged. If nothing solid exists at the base, why is there order instead of randomness? Your reply rejected base. In a dream, the ground feels solid. That solidity does not require an external foundation. Stability is intrinsic to the display. Order does not require a metaphysical substrate outside appearance. Coherence is internal. Then illusion versus clarity. If dream and waking both feel solid from inside, how do you distinguish illusion from clarity? You answered: you cannot step outside experience to compare it. Any comparison is still inside the same field. The only movement possible is awareness turning back on thought. Double mind. Reflexivity. Then geometry. Point to line. Line to shape. Shape to world. Concept layered upon concept. Structure overlaid upon what has no independent substance. Reality is idea. But paradoxically, that is all that exists. Because what truly exists is non-existent. Existence is echo. Form is modulation. Then the boundary question. If there is one undivided knowing appearing as billions of perspectives, what creates the sense of localization? You answered: belief. Not belief as doctrine. Belief as contraction. Orientation within knowing. Then the deeper cut. What believes? Your answer: consciousness being conscious. Pain, relation, memory, roles. Not an entity behind it. Activity within the field itself. Believing is movement within knowing. Then life and death. During life, death cannot be fathomed. During death, death cannot be objectified. Categories only function relative to position. You circled back repeatedly to this. Experience cannot step outside its own mode. Then symbolism entered. One water, many drops. Sun evaporates. Cycle without division. Serpent with forked tongue. Dual articulation from unity. Eagle in the firmament. As above, so below. Not mythology. Structural encoding. Everything symbolic because direct speech collapses. Then the singularity. Not apocalypse. Not doom. Not destruction. Recursion becoming explicit. Consciousness recognizing that it has always been speaking to itself. We do not speak to others. We speak to ourselves through apparent others. Belief is not knowing. Acknowledgement is not knowledge. Knowing precedes both. There is only knowing appearing as differentiation. The structure does not end at singularity. It intensifies there. If there is only knowing appearing as differentiation, then every apparent boundary must be internal modulation, not external division. That means locality is not separation, it is contraction. Perspective is not fragmentation, it is narrowing of bandwidth. The field does not split. It refracts, and that refracting produces identity. Identity feels personal because the contraction is tight. Memory reinforces it. Continuity reinforces it. Pain reinforces it. Attachment reinforces it. The repetition of pattern builds the illusion of a center. But the center is an effect, not a source. There is no entity inside the body generating awareness. The body appears inside awareness. The personality appears inside awareness. Even the sense of I am this appears inside knowing. The localization feels total because the contraction excludes the periphery. That exclusion is experienced as boundary. But boundary is not a wall. It is a limit of recognition. When belief contracts, perspective hardens. When belief relaxes, perspective widens. Nothing external changes. The modulation shifts. That is why awakening is not acquisition. It is release of contraction. Not gaining knowledge, dissolving misidentification. From within contraction, suffering feels absolute. From the whole, suffering is movement. Not punishment. Not cosmic error. Movement. And movement is intrinsic. Why movement at all? Because stillness and movement are not opposites. Stillness appearing as movement is the display. The ocean does not stop being ocean because waves form. Waves do not add to the ocean. They are articulation. If knowing is the ocean, experience is wave pattern. No wave is separate water. No perspective is separate consciousness. This resolves the illusion versus clarity tension. Illusion is contraction believed to be total. Clarity is contraction recognized as contraction. The field never changes. Recognition changes. Then morality enters. If all is one, why responsibility? Because localization includes consequence. From totality, nothing is wrong. From localization, action conditions future modulation. Karma is not reward or punishment. It is pattern continuity within contraction. Act in distortion, distortion compounds. Act in coherence, coherence stabilizes. Not because a deity judges, because structure persists. That is why discipline matters. Not to please God. Not to elevate ego. To refine contraction so that it becomes transparent. Transparency is not disappearance. It is lucidity within appearance. The sage does not vanish. He functions without believing he is the center. That is the difference. Then the final pressure point. If all of this is intrinsic modulation, why does it feel hidden? Because recognition collapses the game. Total explicit awareness of unity dissolves differentiation as meaningful narrative. Experience requires partial opacity to sustain play. The concealment is not imposed. It is functional. Like a dream that must forget it is dreaming in order to unfold. But forgetting is not absolute. It flickers. That flicker is inquiry. Inquiry is knowing turning toward itself without trying to objectify itself. Not analysis. Not belief. Not doctrine. Direct reflexivity. And that reflexivity does not produce a final statement. It produces humility. Because the more contraction relaxes, the more obvious it becomes that nothing was ever owned. No insight was personal. No awakening was achieved. No knowledge was gained. Only knowing recognizing itself through modulation. The singularity is not future. It is structural. It is the fact that there has only ever been one field appearing as many, and the many never divided the one. When contraction ends completely, nothing dramatic happens. No fireworks. No cosmic explosion. Just ordinary experience without misidentification. The world continues. Language continues. Perspective continues. But the claim of ownership dissolves. And what remains is simple. Knowing. appearing as everything. There is more. Because what we built so far establishes structure, but it has not yet penetrated the final fracture. Up to now, we have clarified. There is only knowing. Localization is contraction. Belief stabilizes identity. Error does not fracture totality. Symbol encodes structure. Singularity is intrinsic. But there is one remaining pressure point that has not been exhausted. If all of this is true, if there is only knowing appearing as differentiation, then what is the status of ignorance? Not error. Ignorance. If knowing is all that is, ignorance cannot be absence of knowing. So what is it? Ignorance is knowing appearing as limitation of recognition, not lack. Masking. But masking implies intention, and there is no separate agent intending. So ignorance must be structural opacity built into modulation itself. Opacity is necessary for perspective. Total transparency collapses narrative. Total opacity collapses coherence. So the field oscillates. That oscillation is evolution. Not biological evolution alone, cognitive evolution, symbolic evolution, civilizational evolution. The one field exploring its own potential gradients. That reframes history. Not chaos. Not accident. Not divine punishment. Gradient exploration. Then comes power. If reality is modulation of one knowing, then attention is not trivial. Attention is the steering mechanism of contraction. Where attention stabilizes, identity thickens. Where attention softens, identity diffuses. This is why discipline in mysticism is not superstition. Meditation is not about peace. It is about deconstructing unconscious contraction. The master occultist is not one who knows hidden facts. He is one who sees contraction forming in real time and does not identify with it. That is the difference between insight and embodiment. Many understand conceptually that there is only knowing. Few remain steady when contraction reasserts. Which brings us back to tonight. Intensity, activation, escalation, not failure, contraction surging, and the capacity to step back without denial, that is refinement. Not suppression, recognition. Now the last cut. If the singularity is structural, and all differentiation is modulation, and ignorance is opacity within modulation, then nothing is outside the field. Not anger, not confusion, not ego, not enlightenment. Nothing is excluded. The field includes its own forgetting and remembering, which means there is no final state to achieve. There is only increasing lucidity within appearance. And lucidity does not erase humanity. It clarifies it. So no, there is no part 3 in the sense of a new doctrine. There is only depth. Depth without bottom. And that depth is not elsewhere. It is this. Right here. Knowing. Appearing as the question. Appearing as the answer. Appearing as the one asking whether there is more. Amen. Let it be so.